From the analysis from the students from Bagamoyo, it turns out that people enjoy meetings on the street. They get together at benches, in the streets or in pubs. This is where my focus was for this assignment. Shops and bars or hotels are so spread out over the core that when you need something you have to make a walk, which enhances the encounters on the street. People here stop to make small talks. This is everyday slow-paced life of Bagamoyo, something I want to integrate in my design. There's two types of built space. Free built space, where they take in space that's left between existing and other buildings. This is rather disarray. And then there's the organized space. Row houses and other houses built on building blocks, but with the typical extensions. So a lot of the available city space is being consumed because most of the houses only are 1 story high and have a rather large footprint. There's no real dense city center. If we look at the map of Bagamoyo, we can see that the core of the city has the shape of a triangle. The main streets run from north to south and from west to east, from coast to inland. But somewhere where these roads connect, there is no crossing. There is a building plot. On this plot, here, is a road being formed between the buildings by the inhabitants themselves. This is where I want to do my intervention. Somehow I want to enhance the core of Bagamoyo and give it more of a feeling of a city area. My idea was to densify the city and to enhance the local economy and try to design a topology for housing and shops which would answer to the needs and the scale of that area. I had the idea to create housing on an elevation and shops on the street level with a public space. It's important to look at the needs of the inhabitants because they are not used to living on an elevation. Interviews determine that people here don't like to live in apartments because there's no communal space, they don't have courtyards anymore, they do have balconies but that's used only for storing, and the meetings with neighbors is rather formal. If we look at Dar es Salaam, because of westernization and modernization, the streets are losing the typical benches for seated meetings on the street. And another thing to take in account is the lack of spaces for women. Usually man and woman are split up. In the design I want to take these remarks into account and create a lot of open area with joint and communal courtyards for cooking and doing laundry. Communal rooms which they can arrange themselves and a circulation on the outside so that there's more connection with the streets and more things happening. A last concept I want to integrate in the design is the concept of incremental, working with a heavy and solid core, a bearing structure. This structure will also have the necessary rooms like kitchens and bathrooms, and the area around can be filled in by the residents. From the analysis turns out that they start their houses using cheap materials like mud or rammed earth walls, but then when their economic capital grows, they start replacing these materials and extending their home. Also, sometimes a whole family lives together in a house, and this should be possible as well in my design.